Today's August 17th, 2022. I hear it's your birthday.
It is my birthday. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, it's like 29 is a rough year.
You were born the same year as Stevie Ray Vaughan.
I was.
Were you guys good friends?
We were friends. We just kind of were in parallel paths, just playing all the time. But we played some shows together, did some touring together.
Now, your first album was Tones. How did you get discovered? How did you get your record deal?
Really, Christopher Cross, who is a friend of mine, he introduced me to the people at Warner Brothers. And it started this long, several-year relationship with them where I was doing demos and trying to find producers. They were interested in me, but they weren't quite sure. They were trying to convince themselves of what to do. And I mean, there's this story that Prince helped, and I never met Prince, so I can't validate that story, but supposedly he put a good word into Warner Brothers, but I don't know. The majority of it was Christopher Cross just letting them know about me, and they eventually decided we found a producer named David Tickle, and who had worked with Peter Gabriel and Crowded House and stuff, and so at that point let's do this, and they signed me to do my record.
The sound that you get out of your guitar, your tone, how did that come about? Was that something you envisioned, or did you just stumble upon it?
I think it was a process that I refined over the years of my visualization of how I wanted it to sound. And any originality with it is really simply just the amalgamation of the different attributes from different players. Like I basically took, a sound maybe that Hendrix got or Clapton took, and I would combine it with maybe a thing John McLaughlin did, or those guys are the guys that invented it, and they really deserve the most of the credit. But I mean, people say that it's an original sound. I think the only thing that's original maybe is that it's my own unique amalgamation of different people.
Cliffs of Dover is probably your most well-known song, and it did win a Grammy in 1992. Did you know when you finished writing that song that it was special?
Not really. It was a song that came to me really quickly. Some songs take forever, and other ones just bam, they come. And I think it was kind of a gift of the universe because it kind of just dropped down in my lap. I kind of wrote it in 5 or 10 minutes. I had to go back and fill in some of the dots and cross the T's, but for the most part, it just kind of happened, And so I think it was kind of a gift to help me just keep doing what I did or what I do. And yeah, I do remember I played it for my mom once, and she went down, "Oh, that's a good song." And it was the time, in the early 90s when I guess people, would accept a guitar instrumental. And there was this guy named Jeffrey Shane at Capitol who just loved it so much. He would not stop until every radio station had heard it. It takes a village,
Really, right. And Denny Somack signed you to his label, Cinema, which was distributed by Capitol, and that was really the song that put him over the top with you. He loved that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Denny Somack and Jeff Abrams. I mean, they really believed in what I was doing, and that's what I like to tell young musicians: to follow your heart and follow your joy, and find the music, find your unique voice that blooms and thrives inside you, and that reinvests your passion, and that makes you be unique. Because I mean, it's like a story about Loretta Lynn getting turned down by everybody, and she had to drive around with records in her trunk trying to would please listen to my music, and finally, just by her own hard work, it happens through all, obviously, with artists and musicians and everybody. When plan A doesn't work, you go to plan B or plan C. You just keep going.
So that brings us up to now, when you have the 2 new albums that you're releasing. What made you decide to release 2 records at the same time?
Well, I came home. We lost the last 3 weeks, excuse me, of our tour in early 2020 because of COVID. And I came home, and it's like everybody was just locked up in their house, fortunately, I live close to my studio, and I know enough engineering to get myself in trouble. So I just said, what am I going to do? Nobody's getting together, nobody's doing anything. And I thought, well, let me check out my tape closet and see what I have that's unfinished. And because usually whenever I record a record, there's a second record that I've recorded that I've decided, well, I don't like that as much, So I went back and found all these songs. I kept pulling songs out of the tape closet. I kept finding song after song after song. And then I also added 7 new songs to this new double record that I put out. That was recorded later when restrictions eased up and people were getting together again. But and I just sat in my studio and just kept working on these songs. Some of them were barely started, and some of them were almost completely finished. It's all over the map. And it spans a time period from like early or late 90s to present day. And so it's quite a time period.
I love the first single from the Book of Making, Soundtrack Life.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about that song.
This is a song I probably recorded about 5 years ago with Wayne Salzman and Chris Marsh on drums and bass. It was just a basic track, and then that was one that in the last year or so I added all the extra guitars and percussion and stuff too.
There's something you're doing new with this release. When you order physical copies of both of the albums, the buyer receives the keys to unlocking access to takeouts or outtakes?
Takeouts.
Takeouts. Is that the same as outtakes?
Yeah, it is. It's just a play on words. They were not quite as realized as I thought some of the others were, but I thought they were interesting enough for people to hear.
What are your goals with these 2 albums?
Keep exploring and experimenting, and I tried to make these records a little more honest and open emotionally, and not be so concerned on whether there were little glitches or the recording wasn't quite right or I didn't hit a note perfectly well. It's kind of it's an ongoing exercise to me, thinking about the concept of just getting music to be more, get into that flow of practicing letting go and just letting things happen.
Well, it seems like any aspiring guitar player would love to learn from you. Now, I know that you offer at-home instructions on your website, right? At ericjohnson.com. Have you been approached to teach a masterclass online?
I've done many of them, actually. I've done in-person seminars, and I haven't done as many as some artists do, but I have done a number of them.
Now you have a big tour coming up in 2023. Are you looking forward to getting back on the road?
Yeah, it's been so long. I'm like, wow, I gotta figure out how to do this again. I did play a show. We did a one-off show a few weeks ago, which was the first one I'd done in a couple of years.
And was that acoustic?
Yes, it was.
How did that go?
It went cool. It was the first time I've ever done an acoustic show with a band. I've done solo acoustic shows before with just me, but this time was with Roscoe Beck and Sean Giddings and Tommy Taylor, and it was fun.
Where did you do that?
The State Theater downtown with Darden Smith.
Great. I wish you a lot of luck with the new albums.
Thank you.
I think people are in for a treat. They should check it out. And I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today.
I'm most happy to. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.